Erev Tov, good evening, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let us prepare for Shabbat spiritually and vocally as we turn to page 344. Page 344, in the middle of the page, Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. Page 344.
Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai, kol haaretz.
Let's turn back in our Sidurim to pages 2 and 3. Pages 2 and 3, we rise as we are able for the blessing of our Sabbath lights, and we'll be led in that blessing by our bat mitzvah for this weekend, Mackenzie Ratliff. Pages 2 and 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so we give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We may be seated as we continue on page 20, welcoming Shabbat like a bride, like a queen, with the singing of Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, remembering on the last verse to rise and greet the Sabbath bride. Lecha Dodi is on page 20. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala penei Shabbat, nekabla, lecha Dodi, likrat kala penei Shabbat, nekabla.
Shamur b'zachor b'dibor echad, ishbi'anu el ha'meyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'letiferet v'liteilah.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala penei Shabbat, nekabla.
Likrat Shabbat lechu b'nei
Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla.
Hitoreri, kiva orech umiori, uri shirdareri, kevod Adonai alayich nigla.
Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla. The following reading is not found in your Sidurim. God, you listen to prayer. Hear our prayers when they are worth listening to. God, you are one. Hear us when we are one people. Hear each of us when we speak as a whole person, a single one. God, you create. Hear us when we try to create a loving relationship or a better ground for a growing soul or hope. God, you know us. Help us to summon our souls to stretch with utmost love toward you. We turn to page 26 for Chatzi Kaddish. Page 26. Amen. B'chayechon u'b'yomechon u'b'chayedecho b'ed Yisrael b'gala u'b'zman kariv. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam alol me'al maya Yitbarach.
Ve'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitrovah, ve'yitnaseh, ve'yitadar, ve'yithaleh, ve'yithalal, shemei dekudesha.
Barichu.
Le'ela mikol birchata ve'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma. Amen. Top of 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv Aravim. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Ani Adonai Elohechem Emet. Top of 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot together, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora teilot osei feleh, nora teilot osei feleh. Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, leolam va'ed. Top of 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Bottom of page 44. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. V'korei oneg, v'korei oneg. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. Al mekareshei, mekareshei shevi'i, kulam yispechu ve'yitangu mitubecha, yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. V'korei oneg, v'korei oneg, yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto, chemdat yamim oto karata, seker lema'aseh bereishit. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. V'korei oneg, v'korei oneg, yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat. Yispechu b'malchuta, shomerei Shabbat.
Let's rise now together for the Amidah. Adonai Sfatain 46, Avot V'Imahot on 48.
Yadadai, dai, dai, 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 yadadai, dai, dai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Do you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Adonai Sefatan Tifta, Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up our lips, that our mouths may declare your praise. Yadadai, dai, dai, 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 yadadai, dai, dai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot V'Imachot. והביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Together at the top of 55, page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Top of page 57. Adonai Eloheinu, be'amecha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahavat tekavel, u'tehi leratzon tamid, u'tehi leratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levanecha, be'ir anavod, she'otecha
Levadecha be'ir anavod. Top of 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. We pray for wholeness. We pray for healing. And we take time in our service to think of those who are in need of healing, the healing of body or healing of spirit. If you are thinking of one or more than one who's in need of healing and wish to share their names out loud, I invite you to do so as my eyes scan around the room. For all those we mention out loud, for all those we mention in our hearts, together we pray for healing. Mishaberach tonight can be found on page 253. Page 253 in the middle of the page. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Tevel. Oseh shalom b'dromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru.
Let's rise now for Kiddush and welcome all the kids up onto the bima who want to join us for Kiddush. Receive a cup from Reva Brown, Chair of our Liturgical Practices Committee. There's Maddie. All right. So. Oh. Let's not get in Mrs. Brown's way, because she's got a lot of liquids. Or a lot of the same liquid, I guess would be the more accurate way to put it. Where does sister go?
Let us praise God with the symbol of joy and give thanks for the blessings of the past week, for life and strength, for home and love and friendship, for the discipline of our trials and temptation, for the happiness that has come to us out of our labors. You have ennobled us, O God, by the blessings of work, and in love has sanctified us by Sabbath rest and worship as ordained in the Torah. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath, to be hallowed unto the Eternal, your God.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu v'shamat kasho v'ahava uvratzon yinilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'ata v'atanu kidashtam mikamim v'shabbat kadshecha v'ahava uvratzon inhatanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen.
Let's stretch our hands out over our children and say over them, may God bless you
May God bless you
and protect you.
and protect
May
you.
God's light
May God's light
shine in you
shine in
and
you
inspire you.
and inspire
May
you.
God's countenance
May God's
ever be
countenance
turned toward you.
ever be turned toward you
Bless you.
and bless you.
Shalom.
With shalom.
With peace.
With peace.
Amen.
Amen.
You can finish taking sips and surrender your cups to the cantor or Mrs. Brown. Or keep it. I mean, whatever. Especially poignant for Mackenzie last time to sit on the bima this way. We'll get you up on the bima different ways. We'll remain standing as we take our Torah for the ark for our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for the reading of Torah.
Al Shlosha Devarim שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים.
We can be seated. Let's take out our so Mackenzie tomorrow is chanting from Parashat Bahar, but it's a double portion this week. So while she's going to do Parashat Bahar, I'm going to do Parashat Bechukotai. Double portion, putting both of them together. So we're doing them a little bit out of order, but it's all right. We're going to be on page 865 in the files. Chapter 26, beginning with verse 3. We know this Torah portion. If you do everything I tell you, says God, if you follow my laws and my commandments, then all these good, wonderful things will happen to you. It's like the reverse of what happens when you listen to a country song, right? What happens when you listen to a country song? You lose your wife, you lose your dog, you lose your truck. You play it backwards, you get your truck back, you get your dog back, you get your dog back. Right? So this is like the reverse of that, right? You get all of these good things. And we might assume that this is the Torah pretending to be D.F. Skinner. It's reward and punishment. That's often how this text is read. But I'm going to encourage us to look at it from a different perspective. To look at it as aspirational. What do I mean by that? It's not if we do what we're told like good little boys and girls, we get the brass ring. It is rather that there is a way that the world ought to be. That we get these glimpses every now and again of how the world should be, of how people should be treated, of how our environment should be treated, of how we're really supposed to live together, each one of us, all of us. And this text is telling us, if only we took Torah to heart, if only we valued it, if only we lived by it more robustly, more thoroughly, we might get more of those opportunities. We might, in fact, find ourselves living truly in security and in peace with one another. So I'm going to invite us to think of this text aspirationally as opposed to as some kind of reward and punishment system. Dwell on that. I'm going to invite all of us to join in the bracha and the blessing of the Torah. So I'm going to invite us all to rise. We'll join in together.
Baruch Adonai Haborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
shall live in your land with safety. We'll rise to the bracha, and then we'll remain standing for the Torah, Haggadah, and as we return to worship again. And please, everyone, come over here with various Torah groups of them so they can put it back together. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yvette Rudnitsky is not a stranger to us nor to this bima. She has taught in this congregation. She has led creative and experimental worship experiences from this bima along with Reva Brown. She has shared her wisdom and her Torah on many occasions, and many of us, if we don't know her from this, know her from her teaching at the Academy of Lifelong Learning. It's a joy to be able to invite Yvette to join us up here and to share her Torah with us.
Me? Do I need this?
You tell me.
I don't know. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. I'm good. Good evening. I am wondering how many of you here tonight are thinking, what the heck is an eldering anything, let alone an eldering feminist, which is the title of my sermon. I do plan to explain, but first, a little suspense and a joke or two to start us off. I am using these jokes tonight as a teaching tool, for there is a method to my madness, which I sincerely hope will become clear in time. Your job is to note carefully your responses to the jokes. Be as honest as you can. Sometimes this honesty is difficult because what we think or feel in the moment is often quickly repressed or subverted into something else. So the first joke. Adam asked God for a perfect helpmate. He is lonely. God answers, I will make you a perfect helper. She will cook. She will clean. She will love you. Adam asks God, how much? God says, an arm and a leg. Adam says, what can I get for a rib? Second joke. Eve calls out to God, Lord, I have a problem. What's the problem, Eve? Lord, I know you created me and provided this beautiful garden and all these wonderful animals, including that hilarious comedic snake, but I'm just not happy. Why is that, Eve? Came the reply from above. I am lonely and I am sick to death of apples. Well, Eve, in that case, I have a solution. I shall create a man for you. What's a man, Lord? A flawed creature with many bad habits. He'll lie, cheat, and be vain. All in all, he'll give you a hard time, but he'll be bigger and faster and will like to hunt and kill things. He'll be witless and revel in childish things like fighting and kicking a ball around. He'll look silly when he is aroused, but since you've been complaining, I'll create him in such a way that he will satisfy your physical needs. He won't be too smart, so he'll need your advice to think properly. Sounds great, says Eve with a raised eyebrow. So what's the catch? Well, you can have him on one condition. What's that, Lord? As I said, he'll be proud, arrogant, and self-admiring, and you shall have to let him believe that I made him first. Just remember, he's our little secret, you know, woman to woman. Jokes are like small, impacted stories, really great summaries of ideas, values, and beliefs that are often too hard to look at directly. In fact, there are two things that you cannot look at directly: the sun and the truth. So enter the joke, a bit of sideway glance that holds within it an emotional sting of truth. They make us laugh, but at the same time are telling us something more serious. These jokes told here tonight tell a compacted story about male and female relationships, which is no small story to begin with, and beginnings are very important. Beginning stories are the foundation for our religion of Judaism, our heritage as a Jewish people, as well as for each of our personal histories. All our individual lives can be thought of as stories. Stories we live and stories as we go, complex stories that create the one human, universal story in all its messiness, confusion, joys, and sorrows. That said, I want to share a small part of my story. Several years ago, on another Friday night, from this bema, I gave a sermon which contained the lines, "Never be afraid of the F word," after which I paused, then continued, "Be a fabulous feminist." With that, the congregation let out its collective breath, followed by some nervous laughter. Years before that sermon, I also stood on this beam and called myself a loyal rebel of Judaism, because I was living in the real dilemma of how to be both a fabulous feminist and a good Jewish wife, mother, and congregant. Since my consciousness, my awareness was growing to include a feminist technique of both critique of both culture and religion, I was being challenged, so it seems, in every fiber of my being. Western patriarchal culture and religion were turning out to be not so healthy for women and their needs for justice and true equality. How did I then honor, make peace, accommodate the belief that feminism, with the belief that feminism is the radical notion that women are people, deserving of full autonomy, and continue to read and affirm and attend to a religion that for centuries, through its holy books, its teachings, its rituals, publicly subordinated, marginalized, and restricted its women. This truly was experienced as a huge dilemma for me back in the 80s and 90s. While I was not alone in this struggle, for I was reading books by other Jewish women who were articulating this very struggle, I felt very alone in this, my own synagogue. This was the second half of the 20th century, the late 80s, and the second wave of the feminist movement, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, a movement that brought to the light of public discourse some ugly truths about women's lives, like the ongoingness of marital rape, wife abuse, child sexual abuse, unequal pay for equal work, and a slew of other female injustices. We were also being educated about the ongoing mistreatment of women in India and their customs of suttee, or wife burning. We were hearing horror stories about female genital mutilation coming out of the African Muslim world, and the continuing tragedy of worldwide female sexual slavery, including stories from our own land of Israel. This was the 20th century and the undeniable result of about 5,000 continuous years of living as females under the laws of the fathers, laws that gave more rights and privileges to men. And the religion of Judaism was part of that continuous male-centered formation. For even the reform movement in the 1980s was still using sexist language texts, had not invited feminist scholars to lecture from the pulpit, had no new rituals that validated a woman's life cycle, and maybe even more importantly, did not bother to teach our kids a new, non-sexist way of looking at our Bible stories. Today, I am an eldering feminist. Note, I did not say elder feminist, but an eldering one who continues to teach, preach, badger, and demand attention for women and their needs. Today, I stand here as an eldering feminist with all my passion and concern to teach an ongoing need, an ongoing lesson that the lives and the stories of women are as essential as the lives and stories of men. That the treatment of women, as well as the treatment of all other marginalized members of our society, tell us much about our own level of ethics and compassion. I stand here to tell you that women's revolution has been interrupted. It is incomplete. We have not corrected the basic imbalance of power, male over female, neither here in America and certainly not in the most of the Middle East or in many places in Africa and India. But most importantly, I feel I teach one vital message, that until we challenge and change sexism at its root, we will never, as a human family, correct any other ism that exists. Not racism, not anti-Semitism, not fundamentalism, not any other elemental split. And why do I believe that this is so? Let's go back to our notion of our love for and need for telling stories, which for most Jews and Christians is the way their religion is first taught. The way as children we first make contact with our heritage through Bible stories. From Genesis to the Gospels, from Midrashim to the parables, our first encounters with our respective religion is often through stories. No one will deny that a good story is very powerful in its ability to create images and definitions that enter our hearts and minds both on a conscious level and more dangerously enter on an unconscious level. I say dangerously when it enters unconsciously, because on that level, we don't debate it. We do not question the message. It does not come through reason, but through an emotional response. So let us look with a critical eye at one of the most compelling myth stories of Genesis, the Adam and Eve story, the story of the beginning of human life and relationships. In Hebrew, we say Bereshit, or once upon no time at all, in the very beginning. Note, if you will, that it is called Adam and Eve, not Eve and Adam, which immediately tells you something. In its simplistic form, God makes Adam after God has made all the other animals. Adam lives with the animals in the garden, naming them and caretaking them, but he is still lonely. So God then puts Adam into a deep sleep. The Hebrew word used indicates that it is not an ordinary sleep, but a deep one that allows God to create a female from Adam's side, or more commonly translated, his rib. When woman is created, so woman now is created also by God. She is not born of man. She is called Eve, mother, or Heather, in Hebrew, mother of all life, and called an Ezer Kenegdo, in Hebrew, a complementary opposite, again, most often translated as a helpmate or a fitting helper. Adam says of her, she is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, a true complementary opposite, not someone inferior. Yet from the beginning of what became a male-dominated religion, from its scribes to its priests to its prophets, that complementary opposite was turned into a secondary creature, necessary for sure, because life could not continue without her services, yet one that was not to receive full autonomy, full personhood, within the religion or anywhere on earth, while culture was androcentric, male-focused. That is, male-centered, male-defined, and organized on a hierarchical model containing the ruling principle of power over and enforced through violence or the threat of violence. Back to my teaching point. If we continue to tell the Adam and Eve story using the traditional male interpretations without a new look at what it might be really saying, we are aiding and abetting sexism right here, right now, every time we tell this tale of our human beginnings. For centuries, this Bible story has been held up as a proof text for why the male was destined to rule over the female. For wasn't Eve reported to us to be a helpmate who went astray when she was encouraged to eat of the tree of knowledge by the wily serpent? Here in this story, made into a trickster and her enemy. In other mythological stories from earlier cultures, this same serpent is seen as a friend and a teacher of the great mother goddess of old. But in our story, Eve did not eat because she wanted wealth or power over Adam, but because the fruit of the tree of knowledge offered wisdom. She was reaching for wisdom, and she offers it to Adam, and he eats. The text does not say she tempted or threatened him or demanded that he eat, yet all too often only Eve is blamed for their being kicked out of paradise. And the blaming starts with Adam himself when God asks him if he ate of the tree. He answered, "The woman you put at my side, she gave me of the tree, and I ate." There is a truth in his blaming, but no sense of responsibility. What I am suggesting our religious institutions do as regards this story and others is to interpret and teach them anew from the new female and yes, feminist scholarship that has been developing for the last 50 years. We have the tools now, but if we do not correct this telling, the disjunction and inequality will continue to cause humanity to fall short. If I, as female, am bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh, and nothing can be closer, and you continue to hurt me, what chance have we to evolve as a human race together, male and female together? I wholeheartedly agree with Elizabeth Cady Stanton, one of the founders of the early feminist movement, 1848, when she wrote, and she wrote this in the year 1900, she wrote the book in the year 1900, quote, "Whatever the Bible may be made to do in Hebrew or Greek, in plain English, it does not exalt and dignify woman." Am I maniacal about this? Yes. And so were our great religious prophets when they struggled to have our people live a life of social justice. Our own reform movement is founded on their prophetic cries for greater consciousness, on their demands for us to house to greater kindness and compassion. Rachmanis is what my mother often told me. Have Rachmanis, have compassion, live and let live. Living in and through these words is our greatest challenge as a human community. These words, these phrases are the fingers pointing the way towards the sacred dimension of living. We have often failed. Does this mean we will always fail? To be old is a glorious thing when one has not unlearned what it means to begin. So wrote our Jewish scholar Martin Buber. Good advice, and one that I have taken to heart, for inside me there is a firestorm that opened my eyes, seared my heart, and ignited my passion, allowing me to continue trying in my own small way to bring Tinker Malam a little closer to reality. May we all, each and every one of us, be the way for incomparable goodness to arise in this world. May we live remembering our heritage, our stories of struggle and enlightenment, and may we live finally regarding each other with compassion and forgiveness. For great wisdom is great compassion, and great compassion is great wisdom. From Eve's first reach for the fruits of wisdom to the heart of the divine will, may it all be so. Amen.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I, at the risk of adding too much time to our service or suggesting somehow that Yvette's words require a compliment, I'm going to add one piece of activism onto what she just preached. Many of us are aware that Delaware is attempting to pass an ERA, right, an Equal Rights Amendment. It passed the House. It has, for the moment, failed in the Senate, but there is the possibility of bringing it back up for a vote. Now I don't normally endorse stuff from the BEMA from a political nature, but if you live in a district where one of these state senators voted against it or chose to be absent from the room when it was voted on, sometime this week, call them up and tell them how disappointed you are that we couldn't find the way to get 16 words into the Constitution of our state that protect the rights of all people regardless of gender. And if you live in a district where your senator affirmed those 16 words, thank them, because the issue isn't done yet. We're not done, and we're going to keep going. But right now, we're going to keep going with the service. On page 282, as we rise for Aleinu L'Shabach. On page 294, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God gives, God takes away. Blessed be the name of God. If you are in the first 30 days of your mourning, I invite you to rise at this time. And if you are in the first year of your mourning, I invite you to rise. If you observe a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's passing on this Shabbat, I invite you to rise at this time. And if it is your custom to rise to remember those whom only we can remember, I invite you to do so as we join together in Mourner's Kaddish. Yet gadal v'yet kadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, Ba'galav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitzramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudusha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom arab amin shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We remember Donald David Golder, Joseph Kaufman, Erwin Weinberg, Joseph Zimmerman, and Edward Jaffe, both of them laid to rest just today. Lillian Blumenfeld, Harry Bronstein, Pearl Bregman, Millie Cohen, Margaret Cohn, Irmgard Ehrlich, Lillian Feingold, Ruth Goldstein, Emmerich Greschler, Samuel Hoffman, Charles Krinsky, Irving Kirsch, Bruce Lipstein, Claire Michelman, Rose Seitzer, Howard Weiss, and Fred Weiss, and Rabbi Aaron Pankin, head of the Hebrew Union College, who died tragically this week and was laid to rest on Tuesday. And if you have a name to add, someone you were thinking of in memoriam, and would like to share that name out loud, feel free to do so as my eyes scan around the room. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing as we say, Amen. Please be seated. Thank you again to Yvette for sharing your words of wisdom, your words of Torah with us this evening. We are looking for more people who are willing to help us out, especially with Saturday morning services in the summer. If you go on our website, you'll have opportunities to teach Torah study or to lead Saturday morning services throughout the summer. I hope you will sign up for that and take it, whether it is something you're familiar with and comfortable doing, or for you it would be a stretch and you want to stretch yourself. I'd love to have you do that. Mazal Tov to Mackenzie, to you and to your whole family. I'm very excited to have you on the Bima and to have you leading us in worship and study tomorrow. It's going to be very exciting. Torah study at 9:30, and then Mackenzie will be leading us at 11 o'clock. Lots more going on, including the annual meeting and Shavuot and confirmation and all kinds of exciting stuff. Look in here for all that's happening. In case you think we slow down in the summer, we keep going full tilt. So find a way to plug in to all that we have to offer. Our service will conclude with the singing of Adon Olam on page 321. Let's rise. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei Kichot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Vehu Aya Vehu Hoveh Vehu Yeh Betifara Vehu Yeh Betifara Vehu Echad V'ein Sheni Laham Shilo Leachbira Beli Reshit Beli Tachlit Velo Ha'os V'Hamisra Velo Ha'os V'Hamisra Vehu Echi V'chai Goali V'tzur Chevli B'Yetzara Vehu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi B'Yom Ekra Menat Kosi B'Yom Ekra Yado Avki Ruvi V'Etishan V'Yahira Ruvi K'Miyati Adonai Li V'Lo Ira Adonai Li V'Lo Ira. Let's join together in Hamotzi and then join each other for Oneg Shabbat.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is joyfully said. Baruch atah melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom.